Hey,
dude! My God, that.
Good evening, one and all. Now, you know me. I'm one of these people. Anyone that's actually ever appeared ever in one of my live streams, I tend to kind of just I'll phone you up and say, "What are you doing? Are you doing anything tonight?" Not how. Why are you asking? Do you fancy joining me in a live waffle in like 5 minutes? Well, Mark has just turned the tables on me tonight. He messaged me. Was it a couple of days ago? I think it was, Mark.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Aye, something like that. And you asked me, why do I fancy doing a live sort of... No, sorry, you didn't mention, that's the important part. You did not mention the word live. You said, do you fancy doing a Llamasoft video? I'll play games, we'll talk about them. And I'm like, yeah, that seems like a great idea. And then I just happened to spy on Mark's face. I said to Mark, we'll meet at 7:15. And then I just happened to notice his Facebook is like... Mamemeister and Mark joined Mamemeister myself for a live stream. I'm like, oh, it's live, is it? So I posted in Discord literally 2 minutes before. Now, the weird thing is, that if you've ever used this StreamYard thing, there's a button that says go live. Now, I did not hit that until about 2 minutes ago, and Mark and I are sitting gabbing, and then I suddenly noticed, how come we've got about 20 comments? So obviously it does show the video. So apologies for being late. This is a very, very impromptu. I'm actually stuck for words for a change because it was a very impromptu live stream. So how are you, Mr. Rayson?
I'm good, man. Good, man. It's nice down here. Excuse me. Nice down here in Oxford. Getting ready for, as it's the 1st of December and it's Christmas soon. So everyone likes that, don't they?
Have you got your decorations up yet?
No, you're joking, aren't you?
No, my tree's up.
Everyone likes. No, I don't do decorations.
What's that?
I don't do decorations.
Yeah, I think the first year I moved in here, I didn't have any decorations, and then my daughter's like, "You need to get something, Dad." So I think I went up to wherever it was, and I've got a tree. And
I've been fighting against it with all my might.
Good luck with that one. Hey, listen, guys, we're going to stop talking pish, but we will continue talking pish. What the plan of action is. Well, I'll tell you what, before we kind of get going, would you like to explain how you and I came to know each other? Oh, hang on. We've maybe lost Mark. Mark, are you still there? I think we've got a few technical problems. Either that or he's not talking to me and he's staying extremely still. Yeah, I think we've lost Mark. What to do, Mark, is come out and go back in again. Anyway, yeah, well, I'm just going to go and set this up just now. But listen, thanks to everybody that's joined me tonight. We've got 16 people in. That is completely unexpected. So I'm just going to set this up just now. Hopefully Mark is going to rejoin me in a second. Right, he's going to come back in, hopefully. Yeah, you guys are... I'm sorry, I can't believe that you guys are not sick of the sight of me. I mean, seriously. You had... did I do a live stream last week? Possibly. And then we did, obviously, the 8-hour one, or the 5-hour one, I should say. Right, hopefully Mark is going to be back in a second. Let me just see where he is. Ah, he's back. He's having a think about it. He's thinking about it.
Hello.
Hey!
What do you know? What's going on?
You're all right. You're kind of back, Mark, but you're kind of it's glitching a wee bit. What kind of is it a broad? Well, presumably you're not going to have dial-up network anymore. Is your broadband pretty good?
Yeah, normally, yeah, normally it's fine. Let's turn this off. That's all right. Okay, it was. We might be better now. 2 seconds.
Yeah, better. You're always better. No, I don't know if you've got anything downloading or anything at all. So, yeah. Anyway, what I said before I realised it actually frozen was before we start. The idea of what we're going to do probably over a couple of videos is play some Llamasoft games. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about what we think about them. What just what it means to us as individuals with Llamasoft, because I think Llamasoft was a big part, probably still is a big part of our lives. I think due to the number of games that that Jeff wrote, to kind of try and put it all into one video, I think we would be here to kind of probably this side of Christmas or the other side of Christmas. So I think what we'll do is we'll stick to 8-bit games, I think. So just before we kind of start, Mark, would you like to explain to everybody how you and I got to know each other?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things that Llamasoft has brought us together, isn't it? And I'm just making sure you can you actually see and hear me okay? I'm just double checking this.
Yeah, absolutely fine, mate.
Good man. Well, that's the thing about Llamasoft games, and then it was that those early years of like everyone getting together on the forum, isn't it? Sharing that one love of actually a guy who writes games, who is kind of part madman, part genius, but actually there was something inherent in his games which actually stood out from the rest of the crowd, and everybody loved it. And then, of course, after that came kind of getting together socially, which was brilliant to get you down, because it took so long to get you down from Scotland half the time.
I remember that. You're all going to chip in to get me doing as well. I think it was that was. I mean, just to kind of backtrack slightly. The reason I got to know about Yak was I'd always been a big Jeff Minter fan. I'm not a fan of every game, I have to say, which we'll talk about later. And then when this thing called the interweb came along in 1997, it was just this blank screen. I think it was Yahoo, and you just typed in random things. And I think I typed in Commodore 64, attacked mutant camels, and up popped a picture of Jeff with this thing called a URL, and I clicked in it, and it was a thing called Yak Yak, and it asked for a name. I think that was how I came about Mamemeister. It's like username Alan Stewart. So that's been taken, Alan. That's been taken, and I just discovered Mame, and I thought Mame, and it's like that's been taken. And I thought, tell you what, Meister, that's like the best of everything. Mamemeister, boom, and there we go. So it was a forum. A forum predated what we now know as like Facebook, etc. It was just basically boards where people could jump in and post. That's what it was. So that started for me and you, I think 2000 maybe. I think 2000 something like that.
Yeah, it was that far back. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah. And as you say, we were a tight knit. I mean, it was something that I think the thing for me is, what age would I be at that point? 2000. Oh, Christ, I'm trying to think. 32, whatever. So I had literally not touched a Commodore 64 for about, I don't know, 20 years, and I'd never really spoken about the C64 because that was like old technology. Nobody talks about old technology, but I still I still enjoyed it. And then suddenly I was in this place where there's all these other people talking about all these real obscure Commodore 64 games, and it was like finding the best group of mates you could have because we all had exactly the same interests.
That's true. It was bizarre, wasn't it? And it became a community and a family really fast.
Well, I mean, I'm not asking people to go and search for that, but I remember when my daughter was born, there was actually a sort of I remember, I think it was Andy Sickboy that started that, and he's like, Tracy's just going in for a section. Oh, Alan's just said that things are all right, and there was like an up-to-date commentary of absolutely insane. I mean, it was a wonderful place. It really, really was. Then, of course, what followed on from Yak Yak was by yourself. You came up. I mean, what I know what there is. I will try and put a link to it down below. Mark and I did talk, maybe about a year ago, I think it was, and we talked in great depth about Retrovision. But anyone that doesn't know what Retrovision was, it was a name that Mark gave for an event whereby we all met in a hotel or a pub, usually it was, for like over the weekend. And did people just bring their own games, Mark, or did you have a group of people that took the games?
I think the first 2 or 3, it was all my machines, and I got very tired of that quite quickly.
Yeah, I can't imagine why.
It was quite cool because suddenly there was other people who said, "Listen, I can bring this, and this." And actually, by the time 5 people had said that, it was like, well, that works for me. So, okay, if you guys bring the stuff to the show, I'll just do everything else, all the build-up, the organisation and everything. So, and then all I did on the actual weekends was turn up, paint my head green and drink. It was that simple. It was perfect. It was perfect. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So when was the first Retrovision? When would that be?
I was trying to work it out. The first one was called Yak Fest, and it was in a horse and jockey here in Oxford. And I think it was 1999 or 2000.
Yeah.
It was quite soon. It was in the September. I remember that, and it was in the basement of the pub, and we all sort of slept there. It was brilliant. It was and then it sort of after that we did like 30 different kind of shows, including all the 0.5s. But it ran for like 15 years. No, maybe 12, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And then a time came where I just thought, well, I think that's probably enough for me because
it's
quite tiring to do,
Yeah, I think sorry, Mark, what were you saying?
So the problem is we're getting older and haven't quite got the capacity to drink and stay up for 4 days. Especially now.
I suppose like anything, Mark, I mean, social media came along and, things like Facebook virtually killed forums stone dead. I mean, I know there is still, Yak Yak does still exist. I still pop in. There's really nothing happening. It's the same with Way of the Rodent, which was an offshoot of thing. I was in that for a long time. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I just realised that there was really, it actually lost the games. I mean, I've never been one for pimping my channel. I'm not one to go into a forum and go, oh, look at my new video. I pimp on my Facebook page and that's it. I don't pimp on anywhere else.
Sure.
And well, I mean, I put up when I interviewed Dominic Diamond, that was a bit of a scoop because, he's a bit of a legend. And I remember posting a video on Way of the Rodent. And I think after a couple of days, I went in to look, and I think there was maybe one person had commented, and I thought, you know what, things have moved on. Time for me to bail out. There's not that connection anymore with games.
And things do. Yeah, that's the thing. Things do change a little bit as they move on, don't they? We all sort of, it either evolves or dissolves, one of the two. But hey, the fact that we're still here and the fact that my work office is kind of still as colourful as it always was, with all sorts of things. I've even got my my Retrovision 360, which a lot of the guys gave me as a. Just had all the front was painted with in Retrovision and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
So, that's kind of cool, and that will that will always remain.
I've still got the third place for track and field that I got. Was it Retrovision 5? I think it was.
Oh yeah. Those little kind of.
I can't remember. It was the first one I came to anyway. So that was good memories, Mark. But here we are. I mean, 20 years later, we're now on a sort of different forum of communication. But I mean, as far as the old brigade go, there's yourself, there's Andy Lowe, there's Paul Amos, there's Sir Lancelot, there's Ox as well, who's a former Yak. There's also Everclear. He's on it as well. So and Charlie Farr as well. Who can forget Charlie Farr? I used to throw darts at him every time I took part in the Llamasoft challenge because it was just like, Gorf, I would get 7,260. He would get 497,000.
I've got this as well. Look at that. That's a one-off.
Is that a pop-up?
My head makeup. Yeah. Yeah, it's a one-off. It's a one-off, and I've even got the box, which is very, very cool. This is a birthday gift.
There's a lot of buffering going on. You keep pausing all the time, eh? Okay, it's back again. That is cool.
Buzzing.
Superb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that a Christmas present? What's that? Who did? Sorry.
Jason McKenzie. Ken's gave me that as a birthday.
Yeah.
The most awesome present ever. It was cool. Actually, it was 550 if he did it. 550. But anyway, what we doing?
Let's get into some games. Like I said, I will put a comment. I will put a link down below to the interview the chat that Mark and I had a couple of years ago. All about, if you want to know any more about Retrovision, go down there. So anyway, what we're going to do is play some Llamasoft games now. I'm going to set up. Let me just. I'll just share my screen. It's going to make you and I a wee bit weird. There we go. See that okay, Mark? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're good.
Good stuff. Right, I'm going to dip into my game base again. Listen, thank you very much. We've got 20 people watching, which is awesome considering this was not announced until about 20 minutes ago. Right, what we'll do is we'll start off with the Atari 800, and we'll not start off with Atari. We'll start off with the one you and I were both C64 guys. So let's.
Well, actually, Vic 20. Really, we just start off with Vic 20.
I'll tell you what. Right, we'll dive into Vic 20 then. I didn't have a Vic 20. Do I have a Vic 20 now? I do, but I don't have any games. I don't have any way of loading anything on it. But right, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to. The Vic 20 emulation can be hit or miss whether it loads stuff. I don't know what causes that, but we'll just.
Let's have a try. We've got to start with Grid Runner, haven't we? What a great place to start.
Right, wait a minute. Why? What's that?
It was actually the first Jeff Minter game I ever played was Grid Runner. I had it. A mate of mine gave it me at school on a tape, which he copied for me, as was the way back then.
Stonewall classic, right? Hang on a little second. I'll tell you what. I'm going to need.
It is a brilliant little thing, and it's lasted well because he's still doing Grid Runner today. But I actually loved the spin-off from Grid Runner, which was Matrix on the VIC 20, and with that chunky kind of, awesome.
I'm more a Matrix fan myself, but we'll talk about that in a minute, right? Let's have a wee look. Is it developer? I think it is. Developer, right? Here we go. Well, it's not developer. Let's have a look. I'm trying to put a filter on. Let's have a look. Extra columns. Software house publisher. That's what we want. There we go. Right, we'll get rid of that developer. You can bugger off. Right, okay, software house publisher. Let's go down the list. Have I got that in the wrong order? Right, let's come down to Llamasoft. Did Jeff not do some games under Hess Games?
Yeah, they were released by, Human Engineering Software, I think.
Yeah, well, there's one there at the very top. I don't know if you can see that. Aggressor. Have you heard of that one?
Absolutely. It's a Defender clone. Yeah, and these were before Grid Runner, I think, and they were, I think, because it's got a massive ship and really clunky, but actually you could see the essence of where Jeff was. Check it on, and we'll have a look.
Well, we have a quick cartridge, right? I'll apologise about my pishness in advance. Right.
I'm glad I'm not playing this.
Right, let's have a wee look. Settings, joystick settings. Pop my joystick in there. And then it's going to be alternate D, I think. Oh, now you know what? We had this carry on the last time for some reason. For some odd reason, we couldn't get it to run full screen. Right, what's going on here? Right, there we go. I think we're just going to have to, in fact, let me see if I can settings, if I can make it slightly larger. Video settings, options, double size. Listen, you know what? Let's just stick with it. I don't want to fanny about too much, so it's. I know it's a wee screen, but that's going to have to do. So this was released in 1982, published by Hess Games. And it was Jeff Minter, and it's a shoot 'em up Defender. So let's give this a go.
Straight away.
How is the sound, Mark? Is that really loud or?
Pretty loud, yeah.
Right. What I need to do is just open the volume mixer. I'll turn it down in 2 seconds. And
what's really interesting about that is the sound effects became such a trademark for Jeff. The sound effects were such a trademark for Jeff. He managed to do stuff on the sound chip which no one could do. It was just like, and that was half the thing for me, which got me into Llamasoft games, is because they sounded awesome. They really, really did. And it sort of makes you wonder, how on earth do you get sound like that out of the VIC 20? It's incredible.
Well, you know that is it Moose Life on the on Steam? He's actually used the sound effects are generated using the VIC 20.
That's true. Yeah, the algorithm or whatever that builds these things. It's just like, that's. I think that's just brilliant.
How's the sound level, Mark? Is it too loud? Is it okay?
No, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely fine, mate.
I'm just going to turn that down a wee bit. The problem is, if I turn the volume down, in fact, wait a wee second, what I can do is I can turn the volume down in this itself, so we can actually talk. Now, I've got to say, you should never ever, if you play Defender with a joystick, then you should hang your head in shame. It should always be used with keys, but this actually plays pretty good. I mean, the scrolling's not the greatest, but I mean, let's cut Jeff a bit of slack. It was an early game, I think.
I think even Jeff admits that these early games were, essentially a bit crap, but actually by the same point, brilliant. I mean, this is where he learnt his craft, and even when I first saw these back in the day, they were exciting. It was like, wow, this is really, really cool, and I think just the colours and the sound, it just worked.
When you think of what games existed back at that point, you know what I mean?
I mean, look at that screen. Look at that screen now. It was colourful. It was vibrant. There's lots of stuff going on. It's backed up by some amazing sound effects. That became his trademark really, really quickly, and that's what made him launch into a market that was actually at the time, apart from being fueled with utter crap. I mean, the market was just ridiculous at that point. And then when the market did start really going, what they found was everyone was jumping on bandwagons of, like movie games and things like that. Whereas Jeff, stayed to his horses and sort of, kept on doing, as he admits, the games that he likes to play.
Yeah.
And here he is now, still 30 odd years later, still doing it. So there's obviously some method in the madness, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Whatever you say about Jeff, he was always true to himself. He never made.
Yeah.
Well, that's not right to say. He never made games that he was told to make. He made games that he wanted to play, and
Absolutely.
And even now he still puts out games on. I mean, there's a bit of banter with Jeff. Like, every system that he wrote a game for, it failed, but that was only because Jeff was one of the first guys to get a game out, and invariably the games that he put out were classed as the best games. I mean, I don't know if there was a really good podcast by Jeff. It was the Retro Hour, and Jeff was basically saying how when he went to Atari and said, "Look, I'm going to do this version of Tempest on the Atari Jaguar." They're like, the guy said to him, "You've not got a future here. That's going to bomb." And then was it 6 months later? He was at a president in California, and he was picking up an award. And he saw the guy, and the guy, "Oh well, I was wrong there, mate."
Well, so true, so true. But actually, I think Jeff excels when he's in his indie mindset. The time he's actually worked in Atari, I think that short space of time, I think he obviously had to follow some rules and guidelines, but in his element is his own place, writing the games at his own speed and using his own imagination, as it always was, and as it still is today. Which I think is pretty. I mean, Moose Life is as good as anything he's ever done. Polybius is probably one of the best games I've ever played in VR. It's just the ultimate blast inside a VR helmet. It's just incredible. I really, really love it. And again, with Tempest 4000, and it's just a shame that Atari denied us the VR version. I think I don't understand why they would say no, because it was done and ready. I mean, I don't understand what they would have lost by releasing it. I mean, it's just crazy, unless of course there's another reason. Maybe they want to revamp everything again in a few years. Who knows? But but Aggressor was good to start with. So we're definitely in the right frame of mind on the years. But
right. Hey, the next one is called Attack of the Mutant Camels, and again, it was written in 1983. So we'll just what I'm tempted to do, Mark. Well, now we don't want to turn the sound down properly, but I've kept it pretty low. I want to be able to. Right. Okay. So this looks. Hang on a second. I need to thing the joystick again. Joystick settings. Controller Xbox. Boom. Okay, right. This is Attack the Mutant Camels. Wait.
And you found the US version. That's fine. It's Matrix.
It is Matrix. I was looking. The thing is, I was looking at it. See if you look at this. Well, you can't. Wait a minute. It helps if I share the bloody screen, doesn't it? Twat.
Yeah, usually.
Right. Sorry, if you look at the screenshot on GameBase, it's not got the actual grid. Which is a bit weird.
Right. Okay, I'll carry on playing that, because we were going to talk about that anyway. Because this is Matrix in the UK, but in the USA, it was released under AMC because the Americans thought it sounds better.
Was that the reason? Was that the reason?
That is exactly how people get confused with different markets. Nonetheless, it's still a brilliant game. It is, I think, for the era, it's the best version of Grid Runner that ever there was, because it's fast, it's furious, it's colourful, it's got those big blocking graphics. It was one of the most perfect shoot 'em ups for the VIC-20, I always thought, and I think it took the essence of Grid Runner and just took it that little step further to where it should be. Even the ship's different. It's cool. It's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. It would have made a perfect arcade game. In fact, we were talking about that in the live stream on Sunday. Was there a reason you think why Jeff was never approached to make arcade games, or was he? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know if he was or wasn't, but I can only imagine that surely people did. I can't imagine why people wouldn't, if you know, but maybe that's how he and Atari did get going. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that what sort of Jeff says, and I think I understand it correctly, and I stand to be corrected on anything I say, but, you know, he has always enjoyed that freedom of being the indie.
I think
because he doesn't want to write, he likes to write his own games as opposed to other people's, and I totally get that, you know, because he's the one with the imagination. So I think he's worked well.
I think Jeff likes having the complete freedom to do what the hell he wants. Whereas if he was writing an arcade game, he would be told that this is what you're going to have to do. Right, Mark, before I forget, what's the point in the little guy that runs across the top? What does he do?
Okay, that's the snitch, and basically he finds the top of you, and if you actually stand still, he will signal that that's where you are, so the XY zapper can just blast you.
Ah, right. He's a snitch. I wasn't really sure. So you can't kill him then at all, no.
No, he's just there to tell everyone where you actually are. So it's just something else to look out for. And this was a great.
I better restrict how much I'm actually playing these. So that was. Did you had a VIC-20 then, Mark? Yeah.
I did, yeah, absolutely. That was the first real machine that actually caught my imagination. I was given the ZX81 before that, but it was the excitement soon wore off. Plus, it was bloody hard work typing on the sodding thing. So when the VIC-20 came along, suddenly with the VIC-20, you had a machine that had balls because it had sound, and that's what always kind of interested me: sound and visuals. And with that, even though a very limited color palette, it was actually, at least it had one. And you could play cool games on it, you know, and so that's where the interest really took off, and that's when I think the general populace, you know, all my mates at school suddenly started getting these, you know, Christmas would come along, and then it was either people get their VIC-20, and then of course it moved on to, you know, the biggest war of them all, where it called like the Commodore 64 or the Spectrum, and that's an argument that's still raging today, I think, with everything that goes on. But you know, of course, obviously, the Commodore 64 is the best. Obviously, he says, "I've got, but I have got a Spectrum sat right here." I don't know. Is it the best? Do you know what? It's horses for courses. I think the reason, again, I preferred the Commodore 64 was actually I could type in it better, and the machine just made more sense to me. And I don't particularly know why. I had a couple of, actually, Richard Coworld, he had the Amstrad 464. Again, so another variant which never gets to the market, but it's actually a really good idea, because he come to me, we play C64, or I go up to his place and we play on the CPC. They were both great. At that time, I didn't know anyone in my location who had a Spectrum. It was just sort of mates at school. But the Commodore 64, I always thought was the better arcade machine. And also, it always loaded properly because it had its own dedicated cassette deck. Massively.
Sorry, Mr. Flanagan is disagreeing. He says, no, it's not. It's the C16.
Interesting. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know a lot about the C16 or indeed the Plus 4. But, you know, from what I've seen, from the limited amount of what I've seen, it's one of those machines that I always wonder, why did Commodore bother? Because I don't see where it took the company. Because you had the VIC-20, you had the C64, and the C60 was somewhere in the middle. It seemed to me. So I don't really get it. Although it did have quite a dedicated following after a while, which I think took time. But I never got that machine particularly.
I'm the same. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know where the C16 and C4. What were they thinking? Because I think they were still making the C64 at that point. But were both of these not slightly cheaper than the C64? I can't remember.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just could never figure out where in the market it wanted to be, because it wasn't a VIC-20 or a C64. Well, surely with a C64 out there, I don't know why you'd want to go back. I don't know. I'm really not quite sure. I think if it was cheaper, it wasn't that much cheaper. Because remember, at the same time, or maybe it was just the logical step up to the VIC-20. Now, so for people who I don't know, I really don't know. I never had.
I think suffice to say, it was one of Commodore's sort of like fuck ups. I mean, I think the plus four. Sorry, I had a plus four in the C16. They let's be honest, they didn't do very well. They didn't do very well at all. And then obviously you had the C64 console, which actually came with a game that asked you to press a key on a keyboard which didn't exist, and you couldn't physically start the game. I mean, that died. Then you had the Commodore CCTV, which absolutely bombed. So I mean, Commodore just lost the plot at that point. It was a shame. And then they eventually found Forum with the Amiga, and then obviously they had the CD32. And yeah, I think it was just a bit of a bad a bad sort of marketing thing to release these machines. But hey ho,
yeah, no, true.
Hey ho. Anyway, we better get back to some games. So right, if we talk for 20 minutes in between each game, we're going to be here to midnight. But it might have to be a 5-parter. I think we'll just see, Mark.
I think it'll just continue forever, I think.
Right, I'm just looking down Hess Games. Right, there's no other games there by Hess Games by Jeff Minter. So let's look at. There we go. There's a plethora, blimey. I mean, you can see there all these Llamasoft games. Right, we might not play everyone. Right, here's one here. Can you see? Oh, hi, I better share the screen again. Right, it's not the. I wonder if I can make that. Can I move that in a wee bit?
Oh, you're going to load it. Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to see if I can. Right, it doesn't appear I can. I was hoping I could drag.
Okay, we'll try.
I was hoping I could drag that across to make that window bigger, but I don't think I can. Well, that is 3D Labyrinth apparently, and that used an 8K expansion. Did you ever play that one at all, Mark?
Yeah. What's
that?
Yeah, that. Or try Abductor, the next one down. I think is Abductor. Was that the one you tried earlier? That's it. Load that, because that's a very interesting kind of game to start from the early days as well. It's basically a Space Invader, but again, very Jeff Minter again with the Sonics. But interesting enough, it has the same
we'll give it a go. Anyway. We'll give it a go. Some of these games don't always load. Well, there you go.
There you go.
JCM. Did Jeff have a middle name by any chance?
Yeah, I think it's Charles.
Ah.
I think. I don't know.
Right. Hang on. Joystick settings. I need to keep going into that. Right.
Again, it's got absolutely.
What was that?
Yeah, I think it's quite funny. So he's got the idea of Defender comes out, picks up people, and takes them away. But it still sounds really good. There you go.
You know, and it plays well. It absolutely plays well. Nothing wrong with that at all.
It's great player.
Balls. Let's go again. And I presume I'm trying to stop these things from abducting my little guys. There again, that's the bloody snitches. So as far as I'm concerned, the baddies can take them. Little shits. Very simplistic, but again, it plays absolutely perfect.
For a 14, 15-year-old kid, and you could play this at home, it was quite cool, I reckon.
Exactly. Alright, so you can shoot the little guys. I don't know if I think I'm continually restarting it. We better move on. That's Abductor. Again, a very early game. That was 1982. That one.
Yeah. Same year as.
What was that, Mark?
Same year as Grid Runner came out.
Yeah.
And I think Abductor came out, and then Grid Runner came out, and it was a very similar opening screen with very little on it. So obviously he's taken that 3.5K to the absolute limit, and it sort of worked like that. But what's quite interesting is those early days. I think these are the days when he was kind of trying to get these games out to various people, at computer shows, and see put on compilations. And I think this is where basically people started to rip him off. I think he spoke of, sometimes he'd see his games appearing on compilation cassettes, and he'd never heard about it. Absolutely. But maybe we should take a look at move on to the Commodore 64 and have a little look around there for a bit. Because,
like I says, we'd be there. I mean, just very quickly running down the games. Andy's Attack. That's that Defender game we looked at. Yeah. So it was obviously called Andy's Attack in the UK, I think, and then it was called Defender in the US, published under Head.
Well, that, or I think it might even be a slightly different version of the game, actually, but I'm not sure.
There's a nice green cover. Program written by Jeff Minter. This and other arcade quality games available from Llamasoft.
Well, those things are worth a fortune now. They're going for about £100 or more.
Really? Wow.
If you can get them, absolutely.
Blitzkrieg. Now that looks very much like is it City Bomber? I think they called it.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. Look at that cover. How cool is that?
Again, that's one of those things that's worth actually a lot of money these days. I've got one of each, I think, up there in my collection. Actually, it could be downstairs in the collection somewhere. Yeah.
Then there's Defender, which I think is just the same again. That's the game.
Deflex, which I can't play even now. I've never understood the game of Deflex in any of its iterations.
I think I'm sure I tried it on the. Did it not come out in the? It came out on maybe the iPad or something. I think, and I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And it confuses me even to this day. Bomb Buenos Aires.
Here's a message runner. I mean, it's fantastic.
And that was the game that kind of, I think, really caught the market by storm. Written in a week, I think, or something like that, it says. But, the next few games on the list, Headbangers Heaven was prior to that. That's a crazy little fun game. I think that certainly shows the Jeff's sort of, comedic side, which I think he did so well, which is brilliant. And then, of course, we got to see his comedic side again with things like Hover Bother and things like that. But Hellgate, the next game on the list, I always thought was a fantastic game. And on the VIC-20, the sound effects were absolutely stunning.
Well, give it a quick go.
Give this a quick go, because I think this is one of the games I still play today.
You know what we'll do, Mark? I'm aware that, see, when you talk, it cuts out the sound. What I'll do is I'll play it for about a minute, and then we'll talk about it. How's that?
Cool. Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll stick it full screen as well, so we can people can see it properly. I'll just play it for about a minute. Right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that full screen, and then I'll make that.
You're actually still in a window there, Alan, but don't worry.
What's that? Yeah, I was going to try. Let me try it. Wait a minute. I think. See, that's not making it any bigger.
Don't worry.
Yeah, it's a pain in the arse. Wait a minute. Video settings. Resolution. If I make it a wee bit, if I make that a wee bit bigger, I wonder. Let's try that. Will that make it bigger? You know, I'm sure I pissed about with that on Sunday and we couldn't get it any bigger. But anyway, that's what's that called? That is called
Hellgate.
Hellgate, yeah.
And that was a fast game because it was just fast, it was blasting, it was just amazingly good fun. And actually, he did do another version of it called Hardcore on the Atari. He did a 5 or I think a 6 level demo. And again, pretty awesome game. You know, it was Hellgate as it was, but just full on, you know, balls to the wall, Sonics and action. It was great. But as you go down, it's interesting to see those other games. And of course, the thing about the VIC-20 is you didn't have any sprites and stuff like that. So everything is very, very kind of basic arcadey, but still at full speed. You know, the big jump to C64 just opened up a whole different world, I think, because you can just get so much more going, especially with the sprites and everything, and do stuff like that. But interesting enough, if you can bring up that Lister game, which you had going there, your list of games, because I noticed that just down from there, Psychedelia. Now, let's run that for a minute. Up a bit. There it is. Up, down, there.
All right.
Run that. It's got no sound, so just it could just run by itself while we have a quick chat about it, because this being the very first time that Jeff sort of figured out that actually, do you know what? There's something in this, and of course, right now he's doing VLM, whatever it is, 4, I think it is, at the moment. But this, I think, always thought was very, very interesting because it was the start of everything. And actually, I remember him writing in the Nature of the Beast, his newsletter, at the time that this was being developed, and he was doing this, and he was so excited about it, and I got equally as excited about it. And actually, when I first saw it, I remember thinking, I don't know what to do with this. I'm not quite sure, because it was kind of, I was into music and I was into visuals, and it actually took a while to suddenly grab me. And then when it did grab me, I finally got it. And I loved this. I loved the various variations, like on the C64. And then I very much enjoyed Color Space, and then subsequently Tripotron. And I loved all these. And I think I loved them all because they were still quite basic in their essence of graphics. And then, of course, after that, things got very blurry with VLMs and stuff, because you're talking about, you know, you've got that, what's that whole world of color that's all very, but whereas this is quite basic in its presentation and vibrant all the same. And I really just enjoy the basicness of this. I just think it's a fabulous little thing to play around with.
I'll be interested. I'll be honest,
I'm quite looking forward to seeing it.
I didn't actually realise that this game was out for the. So it's not a game. I didn't realise that this was actually out for the VIC-20. I thought the C64 was original, but there you go.
I think maybe C64 was the first one he did very quickly in quick succession every other machine. And I think someone else ported a few for him, because actually the BBC version was very good as well. You can't really go wrong with something like this. It is what it is, and it's just good fun to chill out with and sort of play around with at times, you know.
Of course, he did the VLM for the Xbox 360 music player, didn't he?
Absolutely, which again was, but before that, of course, the Atari Jaguar visualizer, back in its day. So it's out there, but it's never really, from what I see, sort of, launched, sort of set the world on fire. I don't particularly know why.
I think people they didn't get it. I mean, I remember getting it. I think it was a pirate copy I got, to be fair, or it might have been in a compilation, and I didn't really know what it was. I'm like, where's the game? Where's the start button? I'm like,
what's the point?
Right.
Basically,
yeah.
I think VLM is a tool, like Color Space and Psychedelia. They're essentially tools. If you're a performer and you're into stage presentation, music, visuals, basically that's what Jeff created. He created the most incredible version and software to do this sort of thing. I mean, it was performed by a variety, I think, of musicians at the time, and you couldn't help but wish and dream, actually, that maybe if Jean-Michel Jarre had have seen it, he would have he would have contacted Jeff and said, we need to get together to do something. In much the same way as the Merak project happened, where Jeff did the visuals over Adrian Wagner's music. I think if Jean-Michel Jarre had have phoned him up one day, can you just imagine that would have been quite kind of intense and amazing, I think. But very much a step in kind of the Llamasoft evolution.
Aye.
And then, of course, when you do go onto the C64 and you look at the sort of the style of his games, and I think I really got into my sort of love at that point, because everything was so different to everybody else's. Everything was different to play. It was very much, you knew who wrote it because it was so obviously a Llamasoft title. Without a shadow of doubt, it was a Llamasoft title. Hey, China Miner.
I think Jeff was possibly one of the first people that people bought the games based on. Oh, it's a Jeff Minter game. Whereas before it was like, oh, it's Ocean Software, it's da-da-da-da-da. But Jeff Minter, if you're into Jeff Minter games, then he had a cult following, and you bought it. You knew that it was going to be... I mean, I can't think of... I mean, there's a couple of games I just don't get, and one's probably pretty obvious. But the majority of Jeff Minter games, like them or love them or hate them, they are so tightly programmed. There's really, if he's guilty of anything, it's sometimes he's so far ahead of other people that people aren't ready for his games.
Yeah, Jeff was just waiting for the hardware to get better, because every machine he coded for, from what I can see anyway, he pushed every single limit. Like for the VIC-20, he made that thing sound like no one else could, whereas everybody else at the time was going bleep, bloop, bleep, and all that kind of crap. Jeff was making the damn thing sing. And once he got to the SID chip, well, it was just incredible. If you go to C64 games and look at things like Sheep in Space and stuff like that, some of the sound effects that he makes that SID chip do are mind-blowing. It's just unbelievable. Especially when the Planet Buster goes, and the sound effects that accompany all that, and again with Anciptor when the body bomb goes off, how he's managed to make all that work is just outrageously good.
I mean, I'm being really generalistic here, but I would probably imagine a lot of programmers, they wanted to kind of tight code, and the graphics would be really important, and I think the sound effects maybe not quite so important, but I think for Jeff, a lot of Jeff games, he was never the best graphic artist, but
his own admission,
he probably put as much sort of effort into getting the sound effects spot on, because the sound effects in Jeff's games are a massive, massive part of them. They really are.
But I mean, he says that he was never an artist, but actually, if you think about it, if you look at like the camel in Revenge of the Mutant Camels, not in Attack, of course, because that just didn't work. But actually, you know, for the graphics he needed, he did them extremely well, you know. And so I think, yeah, absolutely. So are we going to move on to a C64 game or two now?
You know what's interesting? What's interesting, Mark, you'll see there, what I've had to do is I've filtered on programmer Jeff Minter. Look at how few games he actually published under Llamasoft. There's only really, I don't know, about 10 or something there. Look at all the other games. I mean, some of them are obviously repeats of other games, but he didn't actually put out that much for the C64 when I always thought he'd put out a lot more games, to be fair.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you say that. I mean, obviously, in the later part of the C64 years, he dealt with a few other people to help with distribution. So I think that was one of the things he was constantly having a problem with towards the end, because things were moving on, and that's actually what led to the invention of his shareware idea, which, you know, from that point on, kind of took over the world. But yeah, I mean, certainly things like Irus Alpha, which was one of the fastest blasters on there, which he did deal with Hewson, which is a company who was at the time just based down the road here in Abingdon, just outside Oxford. Yeah, and from what I could see, they didn't particularly do him any favours. So, you know, the time was showing, and of course at this point, I think Irus Alpha and things like Battleix were the last of the games for the C64 before an Amiga, and was kind of, and I think I'm right in saying he wrote mainly on the Atari, and it got ported to the Amiga, and I think that's how it worked.
I think you're right. What's interesting, I think, Mark, is if you look down the years, there's, I mean, let's have a wee look. Years 83, 85, 86. Irus Alpha 1986. I think it's got to be did Return of the Camels on the Mad label 1987. But he's kind of, by 1987, Jeff is one of these guys, he's always one of the first to adopt. He'll get a dev kit sent to him, whatever, and he'll develop a game. He's done that with the Neuron, he did it with the Jaguar, he's done it with lots of other systems. So he doesn't stick around too long. I mean, as I say, the C64 was still very much a thing, probably, I don't know, 1993 possibly. But Jeff had basically abandoned it. He stopped making games 1987 at that point, which was quite early in its life. I think he'd moved to Atari.
So much.
I think Jeff's one of these guys. He gets super excited about new hardware. So when there's a new bit of hardware comes out and he's allowed to develop for it, Jeff is all over it. Connix, anyone?
Absolutely. Which just goes to show sort of how, you know, the brilliance of the man, that he can move from machine to machine with ease, you know, and then after literally a few days, he'd be able to rinse it of all the power it's got, you know, which I think is brilliant. But going back to the C64 library, certainly the first ones like Attack of the Mutant Camels, the actual camel thing was chunky and clunky. I think he wrote that in the first couple of days of getting it just to see what it could do. But it's only sort of really after that when he's getting into, I mean, dare I say, Mama Llama, because, oh my God, the Devil's Game. And because it's like the hardest anything I've ever played in my life. And but I did ask Andrew Fisher, the lovely, wonderful Andrew Fisher, to do a little kind of review on it for me. And actually, he played through and did a narration. And it's like, I didn't know half of this. It's absolutely brilliant. But things like, I mean, my favourites on the C64, obviously Revenge of Mutant Camels has stood by itself for a long, long time. Battleix I loved. I just thought that was fantastic. But Ancipital was one of my favourites. And I just want to see Sippy back again, because he's such a fantastic character. And I actually did think there's that bit in Polybius, the in-between levels, you know, where you're flying in that huge, massive void space. And if you're in VR and you look up, you see a cow on that wall, you see a cow on that wall. In my head, I'd have had all his old characters floating around in that space, that huge group. Because, I mean, I just think he's built such a character base over the years. and things like the Sippies, the mutant camels. I just love to see them. And actually, when he did Moose Life, it did actually occur to me, and I love Moose Life, by the way. I think it's utterly brilliant. But I could see that as a Sippy on the run. Imagine instead of the moose, you had the Anciptal. You were the Anciptal. I think that would have been amazing. But Moose Life is absolutely brilliant. Go-to games at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait actually to see Moose Life and a few others in VR. It just works.
Have you? Of course, it's not out in the PS4 yet, is it?
No, and that's what I'm kind of waiting for and scrapping. But I think Giles said something on Yak Yak. For whatever reason, they're having trouble getting to work with them on that level at the moment. So, but I think there's lots of stuff going on. But Moose Life, even on 2D on the screen, is still fantastic. It's still a great game. It's just so Jeff, and yeah, some sense of you're definitely a fanboy. And I guess, well, absolutely I am because
he makes good games, though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. I dig the games he makes. They're awesome. They're awesome games. And I'll be perfectly honest when I say that it's probably Jeff's games over the years that's actually kept me into gaming, because I'm still playing his games from the 80s, where a lot of games these days, I mean, you look at Steam, how many games are on Steam, 10 million or something silly. So many of them are so crap, they're so generic. Whereas at least if you know that Jeff's coded something, he kind of steps out of he steps out of it, and he wants to really push the boundaries and give a game some essence of life. The characterizations, the music, the sound. It's all very delicately balanced. I think he does that better than everybody. He doesn't just make a game to make money, and I think just as well from what he says.
Yeah.
But it just works. And I think because I think he's officially said that the next game he's going to make once VLM is done is Space Giraffe 2. Now that did slightly fill me with fear, because I don't get Space Giraffe at all. But then he did say something on his Twitter where it's going to be not like that. So we wait and see. With interest, of course. And I'll still buy it no matter what. Because at the end of the day, I support Llamasoft and I support Jeff Minter as a coder. So, why, for the sake of a few quid, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely on the money. I mean, whilst I've got a PlayStation 4, I've got a lot of the, I've not got a PlayStation 5, I'm not interested in getting that at the moment, but, you get all these games, you get The Last of Us 2, you get the latest Call of Duty, that I play these games, but any time I know that Jeff Minter's bringing a game out, I can't wait for it to come out. It's because it's just it's going to be an absolutely superb slice of arcade blasting. It's going to be, you just know it's going to be good.
Yeah, and that's always been the case, especially in the 80s when you used to do the Nature of the Beast newsletter, which would obviously come out and it would talk about the development of the next game. And that was exciting. I'd read them cover to cover 100 times. They were absolutely brilliant. And I've still got all of them, and they're just fantastic to read even now. I mean, if you think about it, just the way he writes, and this is one thing I do pick him up on, is like with all these games he's released just recently, he never writes the instructions anymore. I used to love reading Jeff Minter instructions because he'd do it in such a brilliant way. And it's like when you read the history of Llamasoft, which he wrote. I don't read a lot. I really should read more, but I read anything Jeff writes because it just pulls you in.
He's actually very good at writing. Yeah.
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's exciting. He's entertaining, and he hooks you. If you dig his thing, you're kind of taken by it. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love that. So that's one thing, Jeff. Start writing instructions again, because honestly, they just go with the game. And if you think that's the Commodore 64 game, the clamshell. Have I got one handy, which I haven't? very remiss of me. You get the clamshell, you open up, you get that little piece of white paper which you'd undo with all the instructions on. Absolutely brilliant. Love that. Absolutely superb. Just at like the best things at the best time. It was fun. Yeah, I wish I had one here, but I haven't.
I've got some in the cupboard, but nah, I've not got any kicking about here. I've got some in a cupboard. Yeah,
we'll save that for another time. My God, we waffled on.
We'll get back to some gameplay, Mark. So let's have a wee look. Right, where are we? Jeff Minter. Right, okay, moving swiftly on. Attack of the giant penises by the looks of things, or is that? I don't know what that is.
That's a good hack from somebody. What on earth is that one? I've not even seen that one.
Yeah, Attack of the Mutant TFFFS. Let's load that up for a laugh. I think we need to load this one.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Because I've never seen that. That's funny.
I don't know what this one is. Friar's Freezer. Let's get a bit of... Hang on, Right, how do we start this? Bugger off. Right, wait a minute, that's insert coin. Right, I have no idea what's going on here. Right, I don't think this is the game I thought it was, is it?
No.
I don't know what the hell that is, it's a lot of shite anyway. Yeah, I mean
that's ridiculous. That's funny as fuck, isn't it? Absolutely mental. Tyler, let's stick Ancipital on. Let's have a little listen and a play with Ancipital.
I will apologise in advance, Mark. I'm not particularly good at it, but let's get that full screen and we'll just.
Alan, dear man, you're my friend. I've known you many years, and you're not very good at any games you play, but I love you all the same.
I can play track and field, but apart from that.
Playing games isn't about being good at them; it's about enjoying them. That's what video games are about. It's about enjoyment, man. You know.
Right? Why did that not? It's because my bloody joystick switched off because you've been talking too much. Right? Wait a minute. Let me switch that back on again.
How can you
switched on yet? What's that?
How can you talk too much in a chat video? Isn't that the whole point? Get out of here.
Right, we don't want to cheat. No.
When you just look at that fabulous screen, that's great.
Right, so what we try to do here, Mark, we just keep blasting until the door opens, yeah?
Indeed, that's exactly correct. And your door's going to open. That's it. Now you need to jump onto the right-hand wall.
Jump? How do I do that?
That's not like that.
Right, how do I jump?
Basically, you have to sort of jump up, press fire, and the direction. There you go. You got it. Now, in a few seconds' time, you can jump through them because they'll start to vibrate. And
once they start kind of moving, then you can go through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did this go like that, and then I go down the way?
Yeah.
Did I not die there? All right, I didn't die. Right. Like, why can't I shoot?
Because all your bullets are sat there. Now go pick up the nuts.
Oh, right, that's what it is. Oh,
yeah, those nuts. Yes.
Right,
yeah, the nuts side of the
right, so you need to keep picking up. Right, got you.
There you go. Now all your doors are open quite quickly, so, that's okay. You got 1 second left and then you can move on.
I never really knew how to play this, but I do now, which is good. This is actually good fun. think I notice I'm taking it tight here about how pish I am at games. I think I'm going to have to do a stream where I actually play some games that I can play.
Now you're firing. You have to fire at the wall you want to open on this one.
What's that?
You have to fire at the wall you want to open.
Fire at the wall. Ah, right, okay. Oh, damn it, I didn't mean to do that.
There you go. I'd get out of there if I were you.
Oh, arse. Again, this is just, it's like no other game you've ever played before. You couldn't, how would you describe this game?
Exactly. It's brilliant. And actually, in a way, I do prefer these simple times.
I'm the same. I'm absolutely the same.
I use the word simple, obviously, respectfully, compared to these days. I mean, there's no connection between this and Polybius. Of course, there's not. But actually, this is equal. You know, it's fantastic.
The thing is, even the games that Jeff brings out on the PlayStation 4 are still simple games. Yeah, I mean, what they're doing underneath the kind of bonnet is amazing, but they're still simple to play, you know. And that's what makes them so appealing.
I think it is because it makes them accessible. It makes it accessible to many more people. And obviously, you get the people like Sick Boy, Andrew Lowe, who can pick up a game and dominate it. And I mean, I've never. I think I heard him say one day that when he's playing a game, he sees everything. Within the game, and that's why he plays so well. But I've watched him play games before. I remember playing him at Mario Kart one time, and the guy, just incredible. He's so talented. Just some of the stuff he plays, and it's just like, how do you do that? It's just mad. Although I've yet to find anybody who can actually play Mama Llama to the end, because that's hard.
I think that might be a step too far even for Sick Boy. Anyway, that's Incipital, lovely little game. Thanks for the Mark.
He's a good character. And like I say, in Moose Life, I would love to have seen the Incipital, because imagine running as the Incipital. I think that would be extremely cool. Extremely cool. You know, I'm not saying this. I've said it to him so many times. I'm sure he's saying it. But I just really wish he'd utilised more of his old characterizations, because he's created such amazing characters. You know, like the Sippy, the Anciptal, the mutant camels. Although they do sort of pop up in times and places, doing different things. But I'd love to see maybe like a Battleix. You know, five different games. It would be amazing to sort of have 5 or 6 games within one system. The also game as well. Amazing.
Oh, sorry, Mark, your audio is going haywire. You're kind of paused. It's going a bit haywire there, buddy. You're paused as well. Do you want to come out the stream, Mark?
I got good in this. Okay, I'll do that. I just got to go check the door. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Well, what I'll do is I'll go and play a game for a second. Just bear with me, chaps. Right, what will we try? Let's go for a spot of attacking mutant camels. Hey, John, how you doing, buddy? My mate Sty. Welcome, John. Great to see your smiling faces, reminding me to go dig out some old Llamasoft games. Absolutely, John. I think you probably played them on the Atari, if I'm not mistaken. Right, let me just get this going. Attacking mutant camels. There we go. don't know what the difference between that one and that one is. Both look the same. Anyway, let's dive in. We'll just wait on Mark arriving again. Right, it's probably swap the joystick, possibly swap the joysticks, and fire to start. There we go. You do know, of course, that Mark's going to jump in just as I'm about to wipe out the first camel. Yeah, I think we'll actually need to look at. We've not actually looked at any games in the Atari yet, John. Yeah, and Dale, you're absolutely right. You really need to play these games using a joystick. yeah. I don't know what Mark's. I don't know what's going on. I know when I did a Mamemeister and Chums talk Pish with Mark about a year ago. It was the same. Oh, damn it. Right, Mark's back in the stream. Right, I'm going to let him join. Hang on a little second. I'm just going to go to that. And then we're going to go to that. And we're going to add Mark to stream. Hey, you're back.
Hello. Can you hear me? That's fantastic.
Yeah. Everybody all the guys in the chat have decided they're going to chip in and get you a new microphone, mate.
I haven't got that. Yeah, okay, yeah, funny.
Mark, have a look in the comments. Can you see the comments?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Anybody you recognise?
Oh, Mr. John Guy. He's there. Do you know, this time last year I was with John Guy in New Zealand. I just had like the best time ever. Oh, dear me.
Tell you what. I'm going to put this on full screen, Mark, so we can talk and play. There we go. How's that?
That's a good idea. Yeah, what's interesting about this version? It actually works very well, and even though the Atari version maybe looked better, God, it was a bitch to play. It's so touchy.
It's so twitchy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think technically wise, it's probably much nicer.
Yeah, but I think that Jeff said he wrote this game in like a couple of days or something crazy like that. You know, to learn how to. Like, the first thing he sort of did properly on the C64, which is amazing, really.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favourite Llamasoft games. I just think it's a fantastic game.
It is awesome. Yeah, no, without a doubt, it's classic. And I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, he'd obviously played Empire Strikes Back. But then, thank God he did write this, because Empire Strikes Back on the Atari 2600 at the time was utter crap.
Was it? I know it was based on that, but I've never actually played. I've never played that game.
No, that was crap. This was like, now this is a playable game. You know, and again, you see, it's got some scope. You know, it's got colours. And it sounds good. It's a brilliant.
Awesome. It's just an absolute frantic blaster. I'll try and kill one more camel and we'll move on. Right, let's come out of that. That's an epic game of gargantuan proportions. Right, let's bring us back into the stream again. There we go. Good evening, Chris. How are we, Squire? Yes, that was attacking mutant camels. Anything else of any note that you see there, Mark? Let's have a look.
I mean, certainly no. I mean, when you think about things like, let's forget Mama Llama because it's just bloody impossible to play. I'm
glad you said that.
Just a bit.
I was desperate to play it as well, but I got it. I wouldn't bother then.
No. Well, no. Far be it from me to deny you of pleasure. But But yeah, absolutely. But again, Irus Alpha, I mean, that's a fast blast. I mean, most people can't get past level 3 of the lickers, which is nasty.
I'm one of them. Yeah, I was never a fan of Irus Alpha. People rave about it, but I could never quite get into it. But let's give it a go.
I mean, it is a fast, hard game. The trick with the lickers is to flick left and right really quick, and you can shake them off. And most of the time, certainly on level 3, before both planets open up, they're not on for long. You haven't got to sort of, deal with them for that sort of length of time. But it's such a blast. It's such a great game.
So fast. Of course, Jeff always puts his own wee skinny spin and stuff, doesn't he?
Unlimited lives, that'll do you well.
No. I don't know, did he do the sound for this game, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was his thing about fractals or something, wasn't it? And I don't know, something as such. But this is a great game. This is such a fabulous game.
It just looks so nice. So am I really basically blasting everything up here, yeah, in the bottom?
Absolutely. You just watch your colour. When you get to white, the next thing you do is explode. So you need to go find some grass and settle down. There you go. You've blown up.
Right. What is the purpose of the kind of bottom screen? Is that just a kind of radar similar to Sanction? Is it?
No, because when you get past level 3, the bottom screen duplicates the other screen in reverse, and you can switch from planet to planet. It doesn't duplicate it; it becomes its own game. So if you can get past level 3 of this, the bottom part will open up, and you can switch. And you have to switch. You see those little rings that appear when you shoot things?
Yeah.
You fly through those when the other screen is active, and that switches you to the bottom screen.
So am I now? What am I doing here? Am I eating grass or something? No.
Yeah, you can only take off if you're on solid land as well on this. So you can launch up. You can jump.
Right, you can jump. Yeah.
You can't fly off it.
Look at the scrolling there. I mean, look how fast that's going. It's insane.
Absolutely. So, yeah, jump and move, jump and move, jump and move. Keep moving. Up, down, left, right. That's it. Keep going. There you go. You're doing okay. You're doing all right. Well done, sir. No, you're doing okay. If you can get through this next bit, you'll do well. And then you can open up the bottom screen. You've only got a couple more lickers to deal with. Do not get on the ground. Keep flying. Keep moving and shooting.
I'm actually killing them things, am I?
Yeah. Oh, Christ. God, it's so frustrating watching a monkey play this game. Knowing what awaits you in the next level is so funny.
I don't want to do that. I want to start again. Let's go for another game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's kind of started me back at the same level.
No, it hasn't. Oh, it has actually. Yeah, there's a licker. No, there was a remnant of a licker. Oh, that's interesting.
All right, it looks like I'm back in level 1 again. Yeah.
Find some solid ground because you will need to dump off some energy anytime. That's it. Not just yet, but in a minute. Okay.
Right. Should I pick up the rings?
No, they're there for you to jump through when the next level is open.
Right, okay. Does that actually show me how many enemies there are on the screen left? I don't know.
No, it just gives you basically your readout of actually your energy points. There you go. Just keep flying. Just keep flying. Keep flying and moving. Flying and moving. Keep flying. Just keep jumping up and down. Keep going as fast as you can. Monkey. Oh dear me, that's so funny watching it. It's like I tried to grab the controller off you and oh dear.
I think this is about the funnest I've actually got. It's probably the most I've actually played the game, to be fair, but
Oh, it's such a great game. It's big. It's a big game. There's a lot to it. There's a lot going on. It really is a superb game. We need to just open up that next level, and you'll be laughing. The whole new world awaits.
that kind of open up. Have I done it? No.
Yeah, that's it. Now it's open.
Right. So what do I do now? Just press fire button.
Yeah. There you go. Now, if you fly through one of those rings, now you can't. Basically, you have to fly through a ring when you're not firing. So. Now you're at the bottom screen.
Right, got you.
And you're starting the game again because you build up a whole second screen.
Okay.
Now find there you go.
Pretty damn good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's big. Now, if you absolutely, you can see that diagram that was just there. That basically essentially shows you all of the worlds and which ones you can open. Yeah, it really is. I think it's a fabulous game, rather. Yeah, great game.
Definitely look at that. Definitely revisit that one for sure. Yeah, fantastic.
I totally agree. It's excellent. And the thing is, what I love about it, in fact, it is a deep game. There is an awful lot to it, and there's so much you can do. And you can. I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever completed it. I sure as hell haven't, not without cheating. But it just works. It's just a superb game. And again, much like Jeff's later work in the C64 years, it pushes the edge, pushes the elements again. Because I've never seen a game that fast on C64. You know, when you think about is other guys who are around at the time coding, like Ian Gray, the Inceptor Micro lads, the Ocean lads, and all that. No one was kind of. I think a lot of people got into the habit of just if it was colourful and had a nice tune, it would work. And I don't think Jeff subscribed to that at all. In fact, actually, musical score, although some of the ones created by James Disney were very, very good, that wasn't necessarily the essence of the game. Although, that said, Llama does have actually the best music. I always thought it was very deep, very kind of organic. And actually, it was Chris Abbott did a remake of the Llama music, and he did a fantastic job. We might have to grab him and find that at some point. I think that's probably worth getting hold of because it's really, really good. But, it's certainly, and of course, just lately, of course, music has come into its own because, the likes of Gribbles and lots of the Llamasoft lads who have been creating music for their own self, and their music's now in some of Jeff's games. And it's what's really interesting about the music now. The music, no, let's start with the music back then. I loved sort of the SID chip sound back then. It was brilliant. And I did like things that looked pretty and bouncy music. These days, when you play things like Polybius, Moose Life, now, if I cannot listen to that music as is, I can't go in the car and listen to that music. I think it's crap. I honestly do. But when I'm playing the games to which it's associated, it pulls me in.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's totally not my kind of music, but in the essence of the game, and it is part of the game. And actually, I love it then, because it is completely associated with actually the game. And I've always found that quite strange, because it's one of those things that if, like I say, you're driving down the road, if it came on the radio, you turn it off. Well, I would anyway, because I'm just not into that kind of thing. But I say Polybius certainly Polybius.
TX. I know we're kind of deviating a wee bit. Like TXK and the PS on the Sony Vita has got. I mean, it's the game for me on the Vita. But the soundtrack to that is awesome. Again, it's all the ex sort of Llamasoft guys. Just when we're talking, Mark, there's a couple of people. Low Moon is asking, is this Retrovision Marky of Greenhead fame?
Do you know, I was going to actually paint my head green tonight, but I haven't got any mascara to do the highlight bits that I need to do to make the makeup fully up. Perhaps I'll do that for the next one.
And Craig is asking, will Retrovision ever come back?
Part of me would love to, but the other part of me is like, oh, I don't know. The thing is about Retrovisions, it's finding the venue. It's so venue dependent. You need now venues make very good money out of us, believe me. But it's finding a venue that actually lets you get on with it. We were very, very lucky when we were at the Folly, and actually in Frome as well, with a venue that just said, facing Mark, just get on with it. It's so venue specific, but I mean, will it come out? I mean, yeah, I do like the idea, and maybe something. I think it is one of those cases where what we could do, and I know a lot of people do want to. So, like, hey, let's arrange to meet. We'll find a pub. Everyone bring a game, and we'll kind of just do something for a weekend, and it gives me an excuse to paint my head green. Who knows? Maybe.
I think possibly health and safety and all that nowadays, it wouldn't be as simple as just cramming into the basement in a pub and ramming it. I mean, I would hate to think how many sockets into sockets did you have for Retrovision?
Well, absolutely. But then you've got to remember, actually, that a lot of the machines were very, very low pull. They didn't require much to run. And actually, we did have them all tested because they all had stickers on. And a mate of mine used to come around and test each one. But you're quite right. We do have to be very, very careful of that sort of thing. And again, yeah, you're quite right what you say. It's one of the things that does have to be considered. But yeah, I think we need a weekend of get together with a curry as well at the end of it.
Never say never, Mark.
Never say never. Never say never. No.
Yeah.
I'll do it before I die.
Hey, Stan, I'm just going to fire this up because this is a game that just brings back so many memories for me, fond memories. It was as hard as bloody nails, but it's Avenging Mutant Camels. I love the music. I think it's a fantastic game. It was very much off its time.
This is a game I've completed.
Without cheating, really?
Yeah.
That's
42 levels, more levels than any game in video game history at the time.
Is that right? Yeah.
At the time, absolutely, it was very true. But what's fantastic about this game? This was the first game that Jeff we actually got a feeling that of where Jeff was going to go by the various characterizations of all the different aliens, the sheepies, and all that sort of stuff. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Right, how do we get out of this? What is score line? Christ, can we do? Is it H? Hey, listen to that sound.
Now, I love the soundtrack to this. I thought it was brilliant. Go for it, mate. Go for it.
I want to listen to music. Right, top tips, Mark. What do you do here? Any tips?
I must say that actually the sprite detection on the first and second levels are a bit odd, actually. But you know, you should be able to sort of wander through these without, because actually there's not much damage, even though you're getting chucked on. But stop walking into them would help. You know, I know it's a basic thing, but you know, it's true nonetheless. There you go. Oh dear. But what's very interesting about a couple of the levels in this game is the idea is not to shoot certain things, and you find that a lot with Jeff Minter games. There are certain things you should blast to death, and certain things you really, really shouldn't, because things go crazy. Especially Rory, the savage guinea pig in the Antiptal games, and in bloody Mama Llama as well.
Yeah, I think with this one, just don't move. Just sit at the left-hand side of the screen.
Well, listen to the sound effects; they're absolutely brilliant. Now, I always used to work at the right-hand side of this screen and basically shoot up. It doesn't always follow, but generally, most of the time, you avoid a lot of hassle apart from bounce backs. But it's certainly the safest place. I mean, do move where you have to, but you're certainly in one of the safer areas of the screen there, because most things do fly over you. But again, you know, when I remember when I first played this game, started seeing, it's like this is so different. This is really just quite brilliant.
Look at the scrolling. I mean, silky smooth scrolling as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's certainly got that sorted. This was actually the first game that actually had super smooth scrolling from Jeff, and it was actually the last game to have a cover that wasn't by Steiner. Now he met Steiner Lund after he made this game, because the cover art to this was just put together by, I think, the printer. It was only after that the Steiner Lund come along and took Jeff's game art to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Absolute legend of a man. There you go. We keep doing that, essentially. It's quite good. Yeah, you see, you're getting this. But even if you look at that background, not like a colourful background, it always reminds me of a sweet shop. With lots of pastel sweets all sort of up at the end.
Yeah. But this game is just, it's off its time. You know, there's nuclear. I mean, there's references to nuclear CND. Is there Margaret Thatcher? Does she appear at any point? Ronald Reagan or that? I can't remember.
I don't think Margaret Thatcher's in this one, but certainly I don't think it's Ronald Reagan per se. But I think there's sort of certainly references to CND and the nuclear arms race and stuff like that. But game, I would love to see Jeff actually do a game like this, and I know he actually did one for the Amiga and the ST. But the problem I found with those was as much as they were technically better, they always seemed a bit a bit slow, maybe. But then maybe I'm just a C64 fan so through and through. I just love how things work on the C64. I think when the Amiga and the ST came along, I think it gave programmers, because it had so much more power and space, they crammed it with everything they could. And sometimes that was to their detriment, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas the C64 game, the C64 machine as such, had obvious limitations. And actually, you could take it up to those limitations and everything still was really good. And Jeff was just the master of it. I mean, absolutely. And let's look at this screen and all the screens. Jeff says he's not very good at drawing things. Hey, do you know what? For C64, he draws just fine. That camel looks great. You know, it's fine. It's perfect. Yeah. I don't think he gives himself enough credit sometimes. He's a lot better than he says he is.
Again, Jeff's games, the essence is always about gameplay. You know, I mean, the graphics are functional.
I agree. No, but absolutely, it's always about gameplay, isn't it? You know, that's what it should always be about, gameplay. Because you can have the most sophisticated game in the world. If the gameplay's crap, you're not going to play it.
Yeah. Well, Jeff always said that the first thing he does when he starts a game is he just makes the control. He makes the character that you're going to control, and then he'll build the game around the controls, because if the controls aren't tight, then it's going to be, you're not going to want to play the game.
Little message there from John Guy saying, when I was playing Polybius this time last year in New Zealand. Yeah, that was very true. I remember that. That was fantastic. I sat there with Jack. I think Neaty was there and everyone was there. I was playing this game. I think Jack was looking at me like, I don't know what you're doing. But Jack, John's son, he's some of the games he plays. Wow. I mean, his mind is like working at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So fantastic. So he's such an amazing game player. Yeah.
Anyone that's watching John Guy, he's one of the original Yak crew.
Absolutely. And
listen to that sound as well. Sound effects are just phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Even that Stand By Your Beast sounds, right? We're not going to play that again. Fantastic. Let's have a wee look. What else have we got here? Fast Fire, that kind of looks a bit like... I'll bring you back in again.
That's another hack of Matrix, isn't it?
Yeah, it does look like that. Rock 64, yeah, was that not a type-in, I think?
I don't know, but again, it was one of those very bizarre early games of Jeff's.
Bit like Moonlander, Lunar Lander, possibly?
No, basically, rocks come down and you fire 3 weapons at it to stop the rocks hitting the base. Go down to Battlex. Let's. We need to play a little bit of Battlex, I think.
This was one I never really got. It was a kind of collection of mini games. I never really took to this one at all.
But if you play Zone number 2, which is basically the remake of Attack of the Mutant Camels, it plays beautifully well. And actually, I think it's one of the nicest versions of AMC there is, in my humble opinion.
Colin saying that Rock 64 was basic.
I just noticed that, and Colin is absolutely correct. You can actually see the listing. You can actually break into it and see it. And can't understand it for the life of me.
Nice screenshot. Mo Warden, she did a lot of the stuff.
Absolutely, she's still about. Bless her heart. Yeah, amazing. Now, if you go to subgame number 2, AMC, and play that for a bit, just brilliant. It's one of the best.
How did I do that? Number press 2.
2. There you go.
Ah, right. Okay, so it's basically the same. Right, it's like a limey.
As Del Boy says, he likes eating grass in Sheep in Space. I totally agree. It's a very chilled out little moment, a little munching of grass. Until, of course, you explode. Then it's not quite so good.
I'm actually killing these guys. It's like attacking the mutant camels on steroids.
Yeah. Be gentle. Be gentle. Feel your way. So you got 2 more to do. One more. And the one thing that's different about this game is you can actually walk from zone to zone at will. But it's obviously quite hard because you've got camels and they fire those bonios of doom at you. And so if you're hitting one of those whilst in walk, it still knocks your energy out. There you go. Take out that bridge. That's great. Now you can accelerate forward to the other way.
That's just mind blowing,
That's it. Keep on pushing it. Go. That's it. Fly right.
What the hell? Apologies to anybody that suffers from epilepsy. I should have put a little warning up. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, if you were to actually do your warp sequence the other way, you'd actually move on to another level. It looks
right. So back and going back to the same level again.
I believe so. But hey, why not have a little look while you're here at subgame number 3, Sippy on the Run?
Right, I'll just die, shall I? Let's try and die.
You can't actually die in this game because you don't have any lives. You have time.
All right. So how did I get out of that?
Press number 3. Just press number 3, and it automatically switches you to.
Right, very good.
That's number. Oh, it is number 3. Number 4, then. Sorry.
This is a bizarre one. What the hell are you actually doing here?
I liked this one, especially when you actually open up the pyramid. It's brilliant. But you see, the whole game works well because you have each individual game has its own little score, but then you've got a master score for all the games combined.
I love the way the kind of little floppy ears move about.
Yeah, it totally works. Totally works.
Right, what did you say? Where is number 1? What is?
Yeah, that's quite a fun game. But number 4, Sippy on the Run, is certainly one of my favourites. There you go. You basically have to make rainbows on all the floor, jumping over holes and shooting crazy things that come at you. But if you keep jumping, remember, if you look at your track below, you've got to do all the floor in. If as you're jumping, you're missing bits of floor.
Right, so I've got to try and not fall down. Got you. Oops.
Yeah, if you look at the radar below, it will tell you where the holes are. Now, if you see there, you've jumped over a load of floor, which you'll have to go back to.
Right. So it's kind of like it's like goat up where you've got to basically walk across it, the floor.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right. You know.
And sometimes the aliens put little things on the floor which either make you jump, spin, or turn, or do something which will annoy you.
Got you, right. Oops, a daisy. Alright, so fire button just jumps. Right, got you now, right. I thought pressing fire button was firing, right, so what I want to do is jump about. Now, hey!
Yeah, you got it, you got it.
When you get to the edge here, I'm going to... Right.
But obviously you can slow down and your firing will kill the aliens before they deposit little things on the screen, on the track for you.
Right, and presumably once I kind of colour all the floor, then does it move on to the next level or something then, Mark?
It does. Yeah, it's good. There's 4 icons to complete the game.
I think I've done the bottom one, or there's one little grey square there. Oh, is it?
Yeah, and keep going. There's another one there. Yeah.
I think I've done the...
No, you still missed one.
Is there still... Oh, I see it. Coming up.
There you go. That's it. Now we're cooking. See, that particular thing just inverts you. You know,
it keeps knocking me off the ceiling for some strange reason.
Well, if you look at the radar, you'll see that they're green, and that's because the aliens have put little devices there.
Right. Why didn't you tell me that 5 minutes ago? That's what it is.
Oh, right, I did. I was actually, but there you were.
I had enough to concentrate on just not dying. Anyway, listen, that's a superb little game.
Yeah, I think it's fabulously good.
I learned how to play a few of these games more than I did before. I think what we'll do, Mark, we're coming up to 2 hours almost. I think what we'll do is we'll have a look at probably Cheap in Space and Hover Bother, I think. How's that?
Yeah, sounds like a good plan to me.
Let's go for a bit of Hover Bother.
That's always a good idea.
Cracking game, right? We'll stick it on full screen again.
And actually, a game he developed with his dad, Patrick. Actually, I think they were staying in a country hotel whilst attending one of the computer shows, and they were having a cup of tea or something in the garden. That's when he came up with the idea.
That's right. He saw a guy cutting the grass, and this would make a fantastic computer game.
Something else that's worth noting is all of Jeff's games have fantastic font creation.
Yeah.
And people used to steal his fonts, especially the AMC ones, an awful lot. Absolutely brilliant. But that's a level you have to go to actually. The whole game is everything, isn't it? Presentation.
The presentation of Jeff's games was always absolutely top notch. They were like an arcade game. You know, you had that arcade experience. You knew you didn't feel you were playing a computer game. It was like poof, you were just in there.
Right.
This is hard as buggery. I think I've managed to get to the third screen once or something.
Well, it's interesting what you say. I've never completed. I think I've got to about level 5. And it is hard. But
that dog can just fuck off, honestly.
you certainly have to learn to control him properly.
He causes more bother than he's worth.
He is good at chasing away things, though.
Aye, for a short time until he gets bored and then he ends up.
That's true.
Right, come on. You should stay up here, son.
Do you know?
Oh, no!
Do you know?
Well, plug it off. Hurry up.
Do you know, it's ever so hard watching people play games you're good at.
Can you imagine playing this on the multicoloured swap shop? Up.
Yes, totally.
Down. You know, when I used to watch that on the TV, I actually believed that it was voice controlled. I never for one second thought that there was somebody underneath a table controlling the game.
Really? Okay, cool. Well done. Now straight to the middle. Get in there. Get in there. Oh.
Oh, you bugger off.
Now, yeah, that's it. Move away from him. That's it. You can let go of the button now. That's right. He won't come after you now.
Even the dog, the noise of the dog kind of yelping, it's like, brilliant, listen to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
Fantastic.
How did he do that? Brilliantly well done.
I know.
But you see, the thing is, I've seen other versions of this game done, and they just don't have the feel.
Yeah. Even all that kind of stuff, that's just really, really nice. I mean, this game would have been a lot easier without the inertia, but that's what makes it so challenging, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Oh, now Jeff is famous for his inertia routines.
That dog and I are going to have a fallout shortly. Stop it! Bollocks. Too much. Right, listen, Mark, I think what we'll do is we'll have a look at the last game,
Yep.
which is going to be Sheep in Space. Yeah, I mean, Megatron, there's a lot of different, well, not versions, different versions. There was a lot of various names for what do you call it, for Grid Runner. There was this was an interesting one, Void Runner, which was that was one of his last games. That's actually a nice game, really nice.
Yeah, the third iteration of the Grid Runner idea. It was quite good. It was a balls to the wall blast. It really was.
Synchro, I've never seen that one before. Commodore Horizons magazine, apparently.
That was one of those things that went out. Yeah, went out. I think he put it out on the internet at the time. With in whatever it was at the time in the 80s, you could pass little demos around.
Nice, right, let's get Sheep in Space loaded up. If you're a retro gamer magazine fan, you'll know Paul Drury. His favourite game of all time is this game.
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you look at do you subscribe to Retro Gamer or do you buy it at all?
No, I don't know.
I've kind of got bored of the magazine, to be honest with you. It's kind of going over stuff that I'm not interested in, but because I've been buying it since edition 1, I can't bring myself to cancel my subscription. That's a nice intro, that. Albeit short. Interesting. Bloated stomach, I take it that's a no, is it?
I guess.
I don't want infinite sheep. No. Yeah, this is Paul Drury's favourite game of all time. I need to put it back to this joystick now. Here we go. And the sound is just epic, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Especially when the Planet Buster goes off.
Planet Buster?
Yeah.
Again, any top tips, Mark, what I need to do here?
The thing about this is things come upon you quite quickly, so certainly keep an idea on your Proxim radar, and also know where the grass is, because you do need to eat.
Right.
And remember, when you are flying close to the surfaces, which you need to do to get the little bugs, you slow down, and you can really go quite slow and be quite accurate.
I see. Oh, God. So see the the little proxim radar. It shows you where they're coming from. So there's enemies to the left.
Absolutely, and also shows you the colour, so you know what alien that's coming at you.
Oh right. I mean, where else would you play a game to refuel? You have to eat grass.
Exactly that. It's a bizarre concept, so do keep an eye. You're adequate at the moment, so that's fine. And your Planet Buster charge is only 2 at the top and 0 on the bottom. They have to get to 5 before the planet explodes. But there's only 4 more ships to get before you complete this level. Now, if you can't see a particular alien at any point, you can always press spacebar and you walk to where there is something. Yeah.
What does that do? Does that just make you jump in the level somewhere? Yeah.
Jumps you somewhere else in the level, absolutely.
Ah, right.
I should think about getting some grass at some point.
Without dying.
Yeah, usually that's a good idea. There you go. So,
how good is that?
Left, take off then, otherwise you'll explode. There you go. That's it. That gives you a full load to play with.
Full belly, yeah.
There you go. And now you see he's flashing, so he's actually carrying a charge, which you take to the Planet Buster, which is that. That you just flew past. That's the Planet Buster. And when they both reach 5, the whole planet erupts.
Well, that thing there.
Yeah. And so if you look at the top right and the bottom right corners, you'll see charge readings.
Yeah.
The top one's full. The bottom one is on 2. You've only got to actually kill 3 more aliens before you completed this level.
I'm desperate to hear that sound effect that you're talking about.
Oh, that's a good one. I'll just hang around then. It won't be long. Oh yeah, you're quite right. The sound of this. I should go and get a bit of grass though. I should concentrate on going to get a bit of grass. Otherwise, you'll die.
Oh, you can't crash land, yeah.
Inertia.
So how do I know what way to go? What way should I go for a baddie? Is the arrow at the top right's kind of green?
Yeah, it's coming. See, there's a baddie who's sat in his shell at the moment, which you've just gone past on the top. That's it. He's left there now, and he's flying along. I said, keep going, and you'll see him in a second. There you go.
Right. I see.
He's just been to the Planet Buster charge unit. He's picked up. But it doesn't matter because that one's full anyway. That's it. One more ship, but like I say, it's the Planet Buster will fill up in a minute. The top one filled up really quick, actually. The bottom one not so much. That's it. 3 at the bottom now. Not long. Okay. Go find some grass. Try to find a nice open patch that you can't die.
Right, I can't grab it. Right, there we go.
There's a nice bit. There's.
Hey.
That's good. That's good. Once it says bloated, take off.
Oh! After I pushed up and it moved. Maybe the next stream, Mark, we can see you playing it because you're obviously better than me.
Not a bad idea. We can definitely do that next time. Yeah, we'll have a little swap over.
Fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant evening. I hope everyone else has kind of enjoyed it. I have, for sure.
I think what we'll do, I'm saying we're doing another 2 games. I think there's possibly another 3 episodes of this. I think next one we can take a look at the Atari and the Spectrum, and then we can maybe pull the six, because I don't think there was that many 16-bit games, were there? Really?
And I'll be honest, when it came to that kind of era, I must admit, I wasn't even really part of the scene. I'd sort of left that scene, the gaming scene at that time, because I'd found beer and women, and that sort of took my interests in a different direction. And actually, I didn't really get into gaming again until probably my early 30s. So that bit in the middle was sort of, traveling around. I lived in Australia for a little while, and just generally having a completely different life. I think it was only in my sort of early 30s. I think when when PCs started to become a thing that you could actually really have, and then suddenly I found emulation. And it was, and obviously the Xbox as well. And if you remember correctly, we all had our Xboxes chipped, the original Xboxes, and I've still got here a whole load of discs which you used to send me with games on, and that's loads. And I think it was only sort of, that's when I started to get back into gaming again properly. And again, let's be perfectly honest, the whole Jeff Minter thing and the evolution to socially and retrovision, that's what kicked off a whole new era for so many of us, really. When you think about it, and they were very, very, very special times. They were exciting times, I think. And as you quite rightly said earlier, forums have evolved and changed over the years. Now, forums are they can be quite, then they don't seem to be specific anymore. Everything's quite general a lot of the time, and so we've lost a bit of essence. But at least with Jeff Minter, Yak Yak still has a dedicated section for gaming, although it's not very busy. But we have his Twitter account. And so it's nice to kind of follow the stuff he's doing there, even if it's just sort of from morning sheepy time to what I actually very much enjoyed in the summers, when him and Giles just sat around a fire of an evening. I used to find that very interesting, just to sort of chill out and sort of, Jeff would open his beer, Giles would be cooking something, and that just amused me. And I guess in many ways sort of reminded me of similar times. But this gaming world which we love so much, be it from retro and from the VIC-20 and chunky graphics right up to today's latest blockbuster, where quite frankly you can't tell the difference between what's on the screen in real life. It's pulled us in, and we're still part of it. But I don't think we should forget the old days, because quite frankly, those were the most exciting times, because it was new.
I feel particularly privileged to have been around at the whole. It was a cottage industry, going from playing LED games to suddenly controlling this thing on your TV, and then the whole evolution through the sort of 8-bit and the 16-bit and the PC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I just think, I think nowadays kids just, I don't think kids will have the same nostalgia for video games that we've got, because we can remember the systems, we can remember, back in the day it was, you had to choose, did I get a Spectrum or whatever, the one my mum and dad were going to buy me, could I get a Spectrum, or in my case I had to buy it myself. Was it a Spectrum, was it a Dragon, was it a BBC, was it an Atari, whatever, and you had your games that you loved, and you look at games on other systems that you maybe thought, you were jealous of, but you just couldn't simply get them. But now everything, you put an Xbox, whatever it's called, I don't even know the new Xbox, what it's called, you put that on, put that alongside the new PlayStation, I don't think you could tell a difference. They're just vehicles for playing games, whereas we've got the nostalgia. And it's epic. It's absolutely epic.
And I think one of the key things about why we got into it was because everybody back then, Jeff Minter himself and many others just like him, were bedroom coders. Now the thing is, so were we. Now, we were just kids, sat in our bedrooms. They were maybe a little bit older, essentially doing exactly the same thing, creating games, sat in their bedrooms. That's how they all started. And so I think we felt we could connect to that. And there was, because we're the same. And I think from that point on, Jeff especially reached out to the fans and actually treated them with a lot of respect by sending them the Nature of the Beast newsletter. And actually, that's how Way of the Rodent started as well, what me and Richard used to run back in the day. It was a printed version. And I think things like that from people like Jeff and a few others, and it is only a few others, actually connected with the fans in such a way as it made you actually want to support them. And the very fact they wrote great games as well was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here today. Let's be perfectly honest. It started then. And even though I left it for a little while, it actually came back. And here we are talking about it, looking back at those old times and thinking, well, actually, they were fantastic times. They were exciting times. Thankfully, Jeff is, when he does release things like Polybius and Moose Life and so on, because of the connection, the historic connection that we have, it makes them equally as exciting, I think. Because quite frankly, there aren't many other games that I actually spend that much time on. Things like Jeff's games, I do go back and back because there is a history built into it, and I just find that one of the most fascinating parts from a social point of view. But this has been over 2 hours, and Alan, thank you for your time, and thanks for everyone for commenting. It's been brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Really.
Well, listen, I'm not going to invite you back unless you promise to come on for at least another 2 of these, if that's all right.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what we'll do, Alan, and I'll make you the promise this. When all this travelling nonsense has gone away, I'll get a flight up to Scotland, and we'll have a couple of beers as well.
Well, there's a bedroom there for you, mate, and I've got a couple of MAME cabs we can get stuck into as well, and I've got a retrovision in my games room here, mate.
Brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, we will definitely do that. And I look forward to it.
Well, listen, guys, Mark and I are going to reconvene probably in a couple of weeks' time for another one of these, and it'll be the 8-bit. We'll probably pick up the Atari, we'll pick up the Spectrum, and we'll also concentrate in the 16 bits. And then I think for a third episode, we'll look at the sort of the PC stuff that came out, your Polybiuses and your sort of Moose Lives. So listen, thanks very much for joining me, guys. As I said, it was a very, very spontaneous thing. Mark sprung it on me. Let's go for live, and I'm like, oh bloody hell! I better get my baseball cap dug out. So anyway, listen, guys. Well, firstly, thanks very, very much, Mark, for joining me, mate. It's always an absolute hoot and a pleasure. Thanks to everybody that's tuned in tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, guys. Take care, and thanks for watching.
Good night, all.